Hi guys, this is Keegan from the Troy Public Library. I know it can be challenging right now doing your classwork without access to any of the resources you would normally have in your classroom or by coming to the library. So that's why today I'm here to talk to you about a database we have called Explora. But before I do that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the difference between the internet and a database. So the internet is something you search with a search engine, so Google or Yahoo or whatever your favorite search engine is. And it gives you access to literally millions of resources that are freely available on the internet. The hard part though can be knowing which of those resources you can trust. So for instance, let's say I am a Detroit Tigers fan. Just like anyone else, I can create a website today about the Detroit Tigers. But should you trust me when I talk about the history of the Detroit Tigers or the number of games that they've won or the statistics of their players? Maybe not. A better choice for that might be going to the official Detroit Tigers webpage. Now, that's a really simple example, and you can probably figure that out pretty easily. But sometimes it's not as easy to tell what sources you should trust and which ones you should just pass by. So that's where databases come in. Databases are available on the internet, but there's special curated content that is generally already been published. So they can include ebooks and magazines and newspaper articles. And sometimes those items have been looked at by other people who are authorities in a field. For instance, if I publish a study and I'm a doctor, other doctors have looked at that study and talked about what was done correctly. So it's much easier to trust things you find in a database than it is to trust things that you find just on the internet. So I would suggest that before you do your next Google search for your homework topic, you look at a database first. So let's get started looking at Explora. So first we're going to go to the Troy Public Library website. And I'm going to ask that you always come to this website, so troypl.org, when accessing our databases, because databases are something we have to pay for. And when you access them through the Troy Public Library website, then that database knows you have the right to access that website because it's been paid for already for your use. So we're going to go here to the side, and there's a little button here that says Resources A to Z, and we're going to click on that. Now, on our Resources A to Z website, here in the center is all of our databases organized alphabetically, or on the side, they're organized by category over here. Now, there's two versions of Explora, and if you're in middle school, you might want to look at both of them. One of them lives under Kids Homework Help, and that's Explora for primary school, and this is what Explora for primary school looks like. Or under Teen Homework Help, there's it's labeled under there under Explora for high school, but it's really Explora for secondary school. And because you're in middle school right now, you might want to look at both sources because the databases are very similar, but what's different is the type of content you'll get when you do a search. So if you start with Explora for primary school and you're not finding what you're looking for, you might want to give Explora for secondary school a try. So this is primary school. You can tell it looks very similar to the secondary school version. But again, the difference is the types of sources you'll get back when you do a search. So have you picked your topic yet? That's a good question. So if you have an assignment for school, but you don't know what topic you want to research, there's some really great finding tools in Explora. So in Explora for primary school, they give you these options here. And let's just go, for instance, and look under History Government. And let's see what kind of topics they have. And here, look, here's our topic of baseball again. Let's click on it and see what we get. So here we are, we have a lot of results. We have 54,471 results. That can be really tough to go through. So we might want to consider limiting our search a little bit. So maybe we want to limit our search based on baseball history or baseball in the state of Michigan, or, by a particular player. Or if you look at our search results in the subject fields, you can see this one, for instance. This is juvenile fiction. So that means this is fiction. We probably don't want, if we're doing a report on baseball, we probably don't want a fiction title. We probably just want a nonfiction title, which is the rest of it. So, we can be more specific in our search to limit out those things that really don't apply to what we're looking for. But let's look at the rest of the page. Up here is an option where we can sort our search by relevance, or the date newest, or the date oldest. Relevance pretty much means that it's putting at the top of the search the items that are most likely to match our search terms. So this means we really only need to look at the first couple pages of our search results. We don't need to look all the way at the end at that last, 54,471st item on this list, because by the time we get to that, those items are probably less applicable to what we're looking for. We can also sort by date newest and date oldest, and this might be important if the topic we're searching for, it's really important to get the most, for instance, up-to-date information, or maybe we want to see stuff that was originally published a long time ago to get a better idea of what's happened. So those are some options, but generally speaking, I would stick with relevance. Over here on the side, it gives us some other options to limit our search. For instance, if we just wanted to look at ebooks, we could do that. Magazines, newspapers. There is this option right here that's very interesting called primary source documents. Let's see what happens when we click on that one. So primary source documents are documents that are written when something occurred by people who directly experienced it. So for instance, here in our top of our search term, we have remarks honoring Jackie Robinson on the 50th anniversary of the integration of Major League Baseball in Queens, April 15th, 1997. So this is something more applicable if you're looking to give a point of view or directly quote people who experienced something. So here it is, this primary source document. And we have some options here. We can listen to it. Let me see if it'll work.
Remarks honoring Jackie Robinson on the 50th anniversary of the integration of Major League Baseball.
So I don't know if you can hear that or how well you can hear that on this recording, but it essentially reads it to you. So that's a really nice feature. But let's go out and back to our search results. So let's say we want an ebook and we're thinking this one right here might be a good choice for us. Let's go ahead and click on it and see what happens. So when we just click on it, it gives us some basic information about this source. It tells us it's part of a series. It tells us who the author is and where it was published. It tells us it's an ebook, and it gives us a description, and it gives us some subject headings and categories, and these are hyperlinked. So let's say we really enjoy this resource. We could click on these hyperlinks and see if there's anything else that share those same subjects or categories to find more information just like it. There's also some options over here. So if your school uses Google Classroom or you use Google Drive, that's an option. We can also add it to a folder, and I'm going to go ahead and click that now, and we'll look at that more in a second. We have the option to print the resource or email it, which might be useful, but really the most important of these options here is probably this permalink for sharing. So if you're working on a report with a partner, if you use this permalink, it will generate a link that you can send to your partner, and they can see that link automatically and that resource automatically just as you see it and gain access to it. Or if your teacher wants to share a resource with you, they could share it with that permalink, and it makes it much easier to keep track of your sources that way or to share them with someone else. It also gives you the option to cite your sources. So let's say we really like this one and we want to use it in our project, and our teacher tells us we need to cite our sources. If you click that citation, it's going to give you this source cited, and it's going to give us that citation in different formats depending on what your teacher says you need to use. So some of the more popular ones are APA and MLA. Probably in school you're going to be using one of them. Let's get rid of that for now. Now let's look a little bit further into this source. This source is available as a PDF full text. So let's go ahead and open it and see what happens. All right, so here it is, and we can scroll through the pages, and it's taking just a second to load. We can scroll through the pages just like a regular book. We can skip from chapter to chapter right here. We have those same links at the top as we had when we were just previewing this resource, so we can still do those things up here. And then also it gives us some options up here. We can search within a source. So let's say we want to know, does this book have any information on Jackie Robinson? Let's find out. Another thing to think of when you're doing your project is to consider how you're searching. So for instance, if someone is talking about Jackie Robinson, are they going to use his full name all the time? Probably not. So this source is already, we know it's about baseball. So within here, let's just try searching for his last name and see what we get. So it gives us some preview of places where the word or the name Robinson appears. And we can kind of very easily see if it's applicable. And most of these are probably applicable and referring to Jackie Robinson, unless there's another baseball player with that last name. So like, let's say we like this passage here, we could click on it, and it takes us right to that passage, and it highlights where Robinson appears in the text. Now let's say we really liked this source and we thought it had some really great things on Jackie Robinson, or more specifically, maybe it talks about something very specific that happened to Jackie Robinson. We could make a note here that say this is a good source about the particular event relating to Jackie Robinson. And then you could remember where you found that information. So let's just save that really quick. Now, searching within this, because we already knew it was about baseball, is different than when we're doing an actual search. When we're doing an actual search in here, we need to be really careful about the words we're using, because we could very easily search too broadly and get a lot of things that don't really have anything to do with what we want to know. Or we could limit our search too much and exclude a lot of the things we actually really need. So my suggestion is when you know what your topic is, to brainstorm a list of things you can search by. And just like when we were looking at that, sorry, I'm having an issue really quick typing. Just like when we were looking at that source and it shows us the subject headings, once you find a really good source, maybe steal some of the words from those subject headings to help you find more sources that are really useful. But yes, do a brainstorm to figure out what words you might want to use in a search before you start trying. And the ones that don't work, cross them off. And the ones that do work, remember which ones those are. So now let's go to the folder up here. So here in this folder, you can see sources that I have saved. So for instance, I was doing some searching earlier about the American Revolution. So I have a book saved about the Marquis de Lafayette. And then right under it, we have that book I just bookmarked on baseball. Over here, we can also see information on notes I've created. So if I did a really good job making notes in my sources, I could essentially look here and see all of my notes and then click on it to see the source. So if I click on the view context, it's going to open that source back up. So then I can very easily see the ideas I found or I came up with when I was looking at a source and then directly relate it to that source. And that's going to be really helpful when I'm doing my citations, for my project. So that's pretty much all I have for you today for Explora. But if you have any other questions, feel free. You can always email me at keegan.selecki@troymi.gov. And you can always reach our youth reference desk at ysref@troymi.gov. Have a great day and have a good luck with your projects.